Hey everybody, this is Vijay at Vijay's Tennis, where it's all things tennis. This video is going to be a bit of a short one today, and we are going to talk about strategies. Now, we are going to go through intentions, variables, and challenges. Now, intentions are relating to what you're doing. Variables is what you can use. And challenges is how you can challenge your opponent. So, without further ado, let's dive in. So, with our intentions, this is what we do against our opponent. So, when we talk about intentions, have you ever guys heard of the thing called, ABCD? So, A is apply pressure. So, apply pressure is basically another word for attack. Now, the reason why I don't use the word attack, because we all get excited, and it's like, I want to hit the ball so hard, No, we use the word apply pressure. And in fact, there are actually quite a few more ways than just hitting the ball hard. If you're applying pressure and you're putting depth, not putting depth, you're adding depth to your opponent, then really, essentially, you're adding pressure. You're applying pressure to your opponent. So it's not just about power. It's of ways how you deal or create applying pressure. So applying pressure, yes, it is attack, but you're pressuring your opponent. That's the big difference. B. So when we talk about B, build. So B is for build. So building. So when we say build, it's basically, in the most simplest way, rallying. Okay, so rallying. So building the point. So when I'm versing my opponent, I want to make sure that especially with a player that I don't even know, I want to try and figure out what is his strengths, what his weaknesses are, and how I can be able to sort of work out what shots that I can hit next. And build is really essentially to just keep the ball in, not really going for too much, just rallying the ball back and forth. And that's what build really is all about. C, so counter. So counter is turning from defense into offense. So counter is when you're really on a defensive position, but you're able to apply pressure. And so let's say the opponent hits the ball deep, hits a slice back, cross court from his back end, and you basically do an inside-out forehand, hitting it from maybe 2 meters back from your baseline and hitting it forehand down the line winner. So that's counter. And D, well, obviously you know what that is. It's defend. So when you are defending, that means you're really running, trying to get every single ball back, not really having the ability to apply pressure or do anything apart from just getting the ball back and defending. So now that you understand the intentions, we're now going to go through the variables. So the variables is what you can use. And when we'll go through 5 variables that we can do to our opponent. The first variable, number 1. Speed and pace. Now, speed and pace generally means you're hitting the ball harder, but your opponent may essentially not be able to get the ball back when it's coming really quick and really fast. So that's an intention that you can use. When we talk about now second variable, that's spin. So there are 2 types of spins. There's slice and then there's topspin. Well, actually, make that 3 types. There's 3 types. So there's slice, topspin, and flat. Now, flat is just hitting hard. There's no spin. It's just pace, flat. When we talk about slice, so slice is basically when, if I'm talking about my back end and my racket is up here, I'm then going to come up to down, and that will create the slice. Then that will create backward spin, so it's backspin. When we talk about topspin, Topspin, so topspin basically is your racket is coming from low under the ball, and then it's going to go up and over, and that's where you get forward spin. And also with topspin, there's another important keynote that you got to remember, and that is you can actually use topspin like your bread and butter, really, because it has so many advantages. Because if you create height on the ball, the spin becomes so much more. Or if you want to hit it a little bit lower, it can skip and dip lower, and it will cause your opponent to pick the ball low. And that's something that you can challenge with. Now, height. This is the most amazing thing, height. Now, there's a lot of people that even lollipops the ball. There's a lot of people that just plays flat hard, fast, whatever. But height generally means is how high the ball is landing after the first bounce. So if I'm hitting it high, I'm hitting it above my shoulder. If I'm going low or hitting it low, it'll be below my hip or just above knee level. So height is a very useful thing, and especially if you want to, here's an example for you. If you want to try and hit a ball high, but to their single-handed backhand, and trust me, you know everybody does this. You know everybody does this, because I'm a single-handed backhand myself. I know the pain and suffering when it comes to that. So generally what it means is, if you're going to add height to the single-handed backhand, they generally will literally have to hit above their shoulder. So that is a huge advantage that you can use. So if you want to use that idea, hopefully don't use it in front of me, then you can generally do that. So that's the third variable, that's height. The fourth variable is width and angles. I would also add angles. So if I want to go wide, whether it's down a line or wide across court, so the width of the baseline, right, that's width. Or even if you're going a wide, short angle, that's also part of that variable. So when we look at that, that is also something that you can use, and that will also not only challenge not only it'll help the width on the side of things, but also it'll challenge the player's movement or the opponent's movement. And number 5 and last variable is depth. So depth is, so let's say my baseline is here and my service line is here. So I can maybe literally hit the ball deeper to the baseline or shorter to the service line. And that also challenges their movement up and down. So depth is another very good variable to use. And then the last but not least, we look at challenges. So challenges, there are only 3 of them. So if you take note of the variables that I mentioned, that could sort of actually give you a better idea and why and how it links to those last 3 challenges. So the challenges are, the first one is movement. So if you know that your player is not able to physically move more than, let's say, more than 15 plus shots in a rally, and if he's easily tired, you can challenge them. You can challenge his movement. Or if you know that when you're moving your opponent and he has a bit of a weakness to move to that direction, you can always go across court, and then when he hits it back, you can go down a line. You can do all sorts of things with movement. But make sure, the biggest thing that you got to remember is make sure you keep it in the lines. Timing. So if I want to hit, let's say, a slow ball like a slice, I can just do a slice, but I can actually not only challenge in spin, but I could also challenge timing. Because when I hit a slice, generally it forces the opponent to actually hit the ball harder and use more pace. Whereas if I just hit a normal flat ball, they can easily absorb that pace without having to do much work for themselves. So timing is everything. So you can challenge their timing by hitting it slow, hitting it fast, or hitting it medium, using those speeds. Strike zone. So when we talk about strike zone, So I'm going to show you an example. So strike zone is where they make contact to the ball. So for example, they can challenge from up here, so around about my hip level. They can challenge lower than my hip level, or they can challenge over my shoulder. So that is what strike zone is. So whether they hit it above your shoulder, below your shoulder, or below your hip. So there's many advantages in strike zone. And especially on clay courts too. When you hit a topspin ball on a clay court, and you'll know eventually that ball is just going to rise up. And if you're hitting on average clay, especially when you're lucky, in fact, I know one of my friends, Paddy, every time when we play on clay courts, and I get so frustrated because he always has the most luckiest of bounces. I mean, literally, luckiest bounces. And when he hits a topspin ball, I'm like, okay, I've got to prepare myself that I'm going to be hitting from the back of the court. I'm always going to be hitting it above my shoulder, and he's always going to go to my single-handed backhand because it's a weak spot to hit it from above my shoulder. So there you have it with strike zone. So there you have it. Those are the strategies that we have talked about in this video. So we've covered intentions, we've covered variables, and we covered challenges. So keep those all in mind. Feel free to take notes on this video because that's very, very important. I'd say, as a last debrief note, when you're trying tactics like these, you want to make sure you don't want to focus all of them at once. Now, it would be great to do that, and it would be good that you can for yourself build experience tactically. But I think, remember, tennis is actually a journey. It's not going. It's not going from 0 to then 100 in less than 2 hours. No, because these tactics, I mean, let's say I have player A and player B. Player A is an aggressive player. Player B is just a defensive player. Now, with player A, if he wants to try, counter, if he wants to try build, he has to work on this quite a long time. Whereas B, he can work on defensive, or he can work on building the rallies, whatever. But when you go to your practice courts and you want to try at least one of these tactics, just work on one of them for a whole practice set, or a whole tiebreak, or a whole super tiebreak, whatever it is, I don't care. Just make sure that when you're practicing these strategies, you want to make sure that you have more time onto it. And that is a big, big deal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today. Give it a like, leave a comment down below. Hopefully you understood what are the intentions, the variables, and the challenges. And good luck at the courts. Go kill them out there. And I will speak to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching Vijay's Tennis. Bye-bye.